I had just finished a grueling double shift at the hospital, emotionally numb after losing a young patient whose mother begged me not to give up. And with my head clouded and my GPS dead, I took what I thought was a shortcut through the mountains and ended up in a place I couldn't find again if I tried a place called Elmridge, though I never saw a sign or border. Just a sudden thinning of the forest and the emergence of quiet streets, empty sidewalks, and neat houses that looked too clean, too untouched by time. I pulled into the only gas station, and the man behind the counter didn't ask me what I needed instead. He handed me a folded paper with shaking hands and said, without blinking, "Didn't you die already?" I laughed awkwardly, thinking maybe he was drunk or senile, but when I opened the paper and saw the message written in a jagged, almost carved script leaf, "Before the clock tower strikes 13 or ULL, never leave again." A sharp chill moved through my spine that had nothing to do with the weather. I threw it away and drove off, but no matter which direction I turned, I ended up at the same intersection again and again, passing the same crooked lamppost, the same porch swing rocking with no wind, and a one-eyed orange cat sitting like a statue on the same mailbox labeled 41. Thinking I must be overtired or dehydrated, I pulled over to call anyone, but my phone showed a new photo ID never taken. Me, asleep in my bed at home, time-stamped 4 minutes from now. That's when I realized I wasn't alone in this town. People were walking the streets, now dozens of them, moving in synchronized patterns, like a rehearsed play, each one with the same empty smile, the same wide eyes that never quite blinked. And when I approached a woman pushing a stroller, she looked up at me and said, "You forgot to forget," before continuing down the street as if nothing had happened. The buildings, too, were wrong-shifting, ever so slightly, when I wasn't looking directly at them. Windows blinking like eyes, doors disappearing and reappearing in new spots, and every street sign was written in perfect mirror image text. I stumbled into a diner, hoping to find someone who could give real answers, and was stunned to see the waitress looked exactly like my mother, who died 10 years ago. She called me by my childhood nickname, set down a menu that only had one item, memory, and said softly, "You ordered this place the night you buried her." I ran outside in full panic, only to hear the clock tower begin to chime 1, 2, 3, until it reached 13, a sound that seemed to rattle inside my teeth and skull. And as the final bell rang out, the world shifted violently, like a curtain tearing open. The sky turned deep crimson, the streets cracked like dry skin, and the people all stopped and turned toward me, their faces stretching into distorted mockeries of human emotion as they whispered in perfect unison, "Welcome home." I tried to drive, but the road was gone, just rows and rows of identical houses, and every door I opened led not into homes, but into twisted recreations of my memories. My childhood bedroom, rotting with mold. My wife's hospital room lit by flickering candles instead of fluorescent bulbs. And one room that showed my funeral, except I was the one watching from the casket, unable to scream. I began to lose time. One moment I'd be running, and the next I'd wake up at a dinner table, surrounded by people I didn't know, all smiling, all eating from empty plates, all staring at me like I was dessert. I smashed mirrors, only to find that they always came back, showing reflections of me in different stages of decay, different ages, sometimes even different genders or faces I didn't recognize, but each one staring back with my exact eyes begging me to remember. I realized the town was a trap, a living entity that fed on unresolved grief, regret, and denial. The more you refused to confront your pain, the more real the town became, shaping itself from your guilt, your fears, your forgotten sins. I found a library filled with books, all of them titled with my name and filled with details I never told anyone's secret thoughts. Memories I'd repressed, moments I'd lied about. And in the center of the room was a massive grandfather clock ticking backward, the hands made of bone, the pendulum swinging with the sound of my mother's heartbeat. In the basement of one building, I found a maze of TVs, each showing live footage of me sleeping, eating, crying, walking the streets of Elmridge from impossible angles, and one screen showed me watching the screen, creating a loop that made me scream until my voice cracked. One night, I saw a child version of myself running down the street, chased by shadow creatures with stretched limbs and stitched mouths. I followed him into the woods beyond the last house, but the trees there whispered in my father's voice and bled from the bark, and at the center of the forest was a single well that Breathius breathed, with a sound that mimicked my wife's last breath before the machines flatlined. I leaned over it, drawn to the sound, and saw thousands of faces in the water mine, again and again, twisted in terror, rotting, silent, reaching out. The town wouldn't let me go because it was me, a stitched-together manifestation of every part of me I tried to bury. When I finally made it back to the square, the townspeople were waiting. They stood in a perfect circle, holding mirrors, each reflecting not my body, but my worst moments. The day I didn't visit my dad in the hospital, the time I cheated on a test and let someone else take the blame, the night I wished my wife would just die already, so the suffering would end. And they chanted, "You built this, now live in it." I dropped to my knees, sobbing, as the ground beneath me opened like a mouth and swallowed me whole. I don't remember how long I fell. Time doesn't exist here, not really. I woke up in a house labeled 41, the one with the cat on the mailbox, the same day, the same sunset, the same gas station, and now I hand strangers notes that say, "Leave before the clock strikes 13, hoping someone makes it out." But I know the truth. Elmridge isn't a place, it's a consequence.